So you're an independent artist and you're trying to book your first concert. The good news is it's actually not that hard. The bad news is nobody tells you how to do it. I will tell you how to do it. I'm DG the artist. I'm still a pretty small artist, but I've had some good success booking small local venues for shows, and I want to share literally everything I know with you today, so let's just get into it. I'm going to break this video down into 6 steps to book your very first show as an up-and-coming artist. The first step is researching venues. If you're near a big city, I'd strongly recommend looking there first. Cities are always going to have more opportunities, but if you're kind of in a more rural area, I'm sure there are still some like small independent music venues that you can find. For your first ever concert, I recommend sticking to pretty small venues like 30 to 100 person capacity. 100 is honestly on the higher end of what I would be comfortable with for like your first ever show. The sweet spot's probably around 50 people. Now, as far as how you find those small venues, Bands in Town is a great website. A lot of smaller artists will put their shows on there, so you can look for shows in your area. Eventbrite a lot of times has small local concerts too, so if you put in your area, you can find venues near you. Local Facebook groups aren't a bad idea. Reddit's not a bad idea. And my last suggestion for finding some small venues is Googling open mics in whatever your city name is. Which leads me into step 2, which is to go to a couple small local shows or open mic nights. Once you've found some venues that interest you and you think, maybe you could do your first ever concert there, go check out the venues. Most small venues have a couple shows a week, and a lot of them have open mic nights every week or every month, which are a really great opportunity for, getting some performance reps in and also meeting more people. The reason I'm putting this as an entire step of the process is because I really can't stress enough how important it is to be involved in the local music scene if you want to contribute to it. Local music is a great thing, and if you're trying to become a part of the scene, you need to also appreciate the scene. So going to these shows and open mic nights is a really great way to do that. When you're at these local shows, don't just stand in the corner and listen to the music, or if you're at an open mic night, don't just perform and leave. Stay, hang out, talk to people, because a lot of people who are there are going to be fellow artists who are also trying to book their own venues. And as soon as you go to one local concert around you and talk to the people there, you're definitely going to meet people who go to other local concerts too and can point you towards more venues or maybe even tell you how to book venues or things like that. The other amazing thing about local shows that I didn't realize until I started going to them is that you can pretty much always talk to the performers. A lot of super small venues that are suitable for your first show probably don't have a green room or anything like that, so the artists are just going to be milling about in the crowd before they go on, which is a great opportunity to talk to them, tell them how much you like their music, and pick their brain about how they made this show happen. And that leads me perfectly into step 3, which is putting together a lineup. Now, yes, it's possible to book your first show with just you on stage. Like, you're the headliner, it's only you for a full hour, hour and a half, whatever. Like, that's totally possible. But in this video, I'm going to recommend a different route. And the route I'm going to recommend going is putting together a lineup of local artists, including yourself, and hopefully including some other local artists who have maybe sold out shows before. And an important note here is I'm phrasing this as a lineup and not finding openers. You can ask other artists to open for you, and they'll probably do it. Like small artists are always looking for gigs, but you're probably going to have a better outcome and more ticket sales if you ask them to be on the lineup with you. If you're asking for an opener is usually someone who's not really putting in like that much work on the show itself. They're just showing up, they're getting their check, and they're out of there. But like somebody who's a proper collaborator on the show really cares about making this show do well. And they're as much a part of the lineup as you are, so they're going to try their hardest to sell tickets and tell their fans about it and all that stuff. You can still go last and be the headliner, or you could go somewhere in the middle, whatever you personally prefer. But I would recommend not framing it as like asking for an opener, but being like, hey, do you want to do a show with me? I'd recommend a lineup of 3 to 4 people where each of you has about a 30-minute set. That seems to go over pretty well from what I've seen. And offer to split the profits with them. These local shows usually aren't super lucrative, but you can usually make a couple $100s from it. And if you split that 3 or 4 ways, maybe you'll each get $100, maybe $75, somewhere around there, And it's like some nice kickback for making sure they actually try to sell tickets. Step 4 is to start sending emails. First off, most small venues will have an email address that you can reach out to for booking just on their website, so go to the website and find it. If you can't find it, maybe ask people at the venue if you go to a show there or something like that. In that first email, you want to keep it brief but punchy. So here are the things you absolutely need to include, and if I were you, I would try to not add too much filler after that. You want to start out introducing yourself, your artist name, and what kind of music you make. Give them a genre or something. Keep this very brief. If you want to give them more information than just like 2 sentences about you, I strongly, strongly recommend having an EPK, which stands for Electronic Performer Kit? No, Electronic Press Kit. That's the one. Even if you don't have a lot to say about yourself yet, an EPK is going to be huge for just making you look a little more professional in these emails. It makes you look like a real artist. Any serious artist should have an EPK. There are lots of tutorials on how to make one out there. Personally, I use my website, dgtheartist.com, as my EPK, so I just send that to people and I can say, hey, look, check out my EPK for more info. I will say an EPK isn't something you should just throw together. Like, it's great to have a nice looking one, but I would say having no EPK is probably better than having like a terrible EPK with typos on it or whatever. So, take your time making an EPK before you start sending out any booking emails. It's worth it. You also want to use this first email as an opportunity to flex. You've got a lineup of a couple artists. Some of them have probably done shows already, and all of you are somewhat involved in the local music scene. The main liability that the venue is worried about is that they're going to book you and then 5 people show up to your show and they lose money that night. So your first email should have irrefutable proof that you will get people to show up to the show. Put ticket sales numbers if you have them. If somebody on your set list just sold 30 tickets at their most recent show, say that. If somebody just sold 100 tickets at their show, that's huge. Definitely say that. If you're all regulars at an open mic night and you're big in the community, say that, because all those people in that open mic community are definitely going to come to the venue to support you. And the final thing that you absolutely need to include is a couple dates that you'd like to do the show on. Don't just give one date unless for whatever reason a certain date is really important. Maybe it's like an album release or something like that. Speaking of which, if you are doing an album release concert, that's always a really good sign for venues because, it's like something special, and so they probably will say yes to that. Definitely include that in the email if that's what you're doing. But otherwise, be flexible, but still offer a few concrete dates. Like ideally you wouldn't say something like sometime in August. Say August 1st or August 8th or August 15th, something like that. Like give a few dates that the venue can latch onto and get back to you about whether those days are free. I know all that is a lot to take in, so I want to give you some exclusive behind the scenes looks right here. I'm going to show you a couple emails that I've sent to venues that have succeeded in getting me booked there. You can pause the video and take a look. Here's an email I sent to The Pocket in Washington, D.C. for a show in April, and here's an email I sent to Kings in Raleigh for a show in July. That's actually still coming up, so ticket link in the description. You shouldn't copy these word for word because my circumstances booking these shows are probably different from yours, and yours are going to be different from anyone else's, but I wanted to give you a couple examples of things that have worked for me. That said, neither of these emails actually worked because it's time to move on to step 5, which is send more emails. For every venue I've successfully booked, I've failed to hear back from probably 3 more. Maybe that's a sign that I'm doing something wrong and you shouldn't listen to me at all, but I think it's really just a sign that venues are flaky and difficult. And even when I do hear back from venues, a lot of times it's after sending 3 or more emails. Again, you can pause the video to read these. Here are some follow-up emails I've sent that have worked. And send these emails to whatever email addresses you can find on the venue's website. They might have like a contact email and a booking email and a ticketing email and all these different things. Most of those email addresses probably aren't who you're actually looking for, but if you send it to more places, there's a better chance someone's gonna see it and forward it to the right place, and then you're in. I've also seen some venues have like these automated forms on their website that you can fill out to try to be booked there. You can do that. I think it's good to at least give that a try, but I would never stop there. Like, always send an email too, because I've never had success with any of those forms. But my 2 biggest tips for step 5 are 1, don't be discouraged. Just keep sending follow-up emails until you hear back. And 2, don't stick to just one venue. If you're just trying to do a show, reach out to all the small venues in your area. Nothing is binding until the date is booked, so just keep talking to people until something is confirmed. Finally, you've made it. You're at the final step. A venue has gotten back to you, and it's time to confirm the show. Or they said you have 3H and you don't know what that means. I'm here to explain that. So a lot of venues have what's called a hold system, which is where, let's say you email them about doing a show on January 1st. they might say, we're not sure if we want to confirm this right now, so we're going to give you third hold. They might just call this 3H or H3. They might give you fourth hold or second hold or 20th hold. I don't know what they'll do, but basically this is hell, and you want to get out of it as soon as possible. Anything that's not first hold basically means we're not committed to giving you this date yet. You're going to need to challenge for first hold at some point, and that will secure the date for you. Most of the time at small venues, if they tell you you have third hold, probably nobody has second hold or first hold. You know, if they did, they would have priority over you. But then they probably wouldn't give you a hold to begin with because they have somebody they like more for that date. So with the hold system, you basically want to call their bluff and be like, I would like to challenge for first hold as soon as possible so I can start promoting this show to my following. Or you could say something like, I'm confident we can sell out the show, but we need to get tickets on sale sooner rather than later, so I would love to challenge for first hold. Ideally, they'll get back to you and say, okay, you've got first hold, and then you can start planning out the show. If not, I can't really teach you how to negotiate this, but just keep pushing them until they cave. You know, they've obviously expressed some interest in you and they don't want to lose you. So just like keep asking them. If they're not getting back to you, you know, bump them every couple days and be like, hey, I'd really love to get first hold on this show so we can continue with planning the event. Once you've got the date confirmed, they'll usually send you a contract where they'll talk about the splits. Some deals that I've had in the past are the venue takes the first $375 of ticket sales and then the artist gets 85% of all ticket sales after that. I've also worked with a venue that takes the first $250 and then the artists get 60% of ticket sales after that. In general, these are the sorts of deals you should expect to see. If a venue is asking you to pay up front, that's sus. Like there's a lot of people who really want to take advantage of up and coming artists, and you know, pay to play is usually not the move. If you do it, I don't blame you, but any performance you do, there should still be some way for you to make money off it. You know, being paid in exposure is not being paid because exposure cannot buy bread. Another thing to look out for in the contract is whether the venue takes a cut of merch sales. Now, you might not have merch at this point because it's your first show ever, but if you do, I strongly recommend trying to negotiate if the venue's trying to take a cut of your merch sales. You know, that's your merch. Profit margins on merch are usually pretty thin to begin with anyway, and you don't want to be giving the venue any of that. So you should try to, at the very least, negotiate that. You can negotiate the offer they give you too if it feels particularly unfair, but a lot of venues have a pretty standard offer in mind, so you know, they might not really have much wiggle room there. Especially since it's your very first show, you probably don't have that much leverage with the venue. You know, if you had a track record of selling out local shows, then maybe you can negotiate something a little better for yourself. But for your very first show, you probably shouldn't be expecting a huge profit. But don't get played either. You know, if they're giving you a terrible deal, you don't have to take that. Some venues won't give you a contract and they'll just tell you the splits, you know, in an email or something like that. In which case, I probably would recommend asking for a contract anyway, just to make sure that you have all the details ironed out. You don't want to be surprised at the end of the night if a venue says, all right, so where's our $250? And you were not prepared for that. Soon after this, there's going to be a bunch of logistics to get those tickets on sale so you can start pushing them to all your friends and family. Venues are usually going to ask for a bio for every artist on the lineup. This is where you can get a little more in depth, you know, like a full paragraph isn't a terrible thing here. They're going to want some promotional photos for each artist, and they're also going to want all their social media links. And it's probably about time that you make a flyer too. If you're talented with graphic design, this part will be easy and fun. If you're not, I recommend asking a friend who is talented in graphic design. I don't recommend asking AI. If you do, I can't stop you, but come on, you know, you're better than this. You're better than an AI slop poster for your first ever concert. I know you are. Some other logistics, you're gonna need to figure out your ticket prices. In the Washington, D.C. local music scene, tickets are often $15 in advance, $20 at the door. I've seen 10 in advance, 15 at the door, but usually that's like the sort of ballpark range you can go with. The venue might use the abbreviation ADV for advance, so they might say $15 ADV / $20 door, or maybe DOS, which means day of sale. Venues have a lot of weird acronyms. If you come across one and you have no idea what it is, let me know in the comments. Maybe I can help out, or maybe somebody else in the comments can. The last thing you'll need to determine at this point in time is when tickets go on sale. I strongly recommend doing this as soon as possible. And now, you've made it. You've gone through all 6 steps. You've got a show announced and tickets are on sale. And now it's time to actually plan out your set list and your lighting and your tech needs and all that sort of stuff. But I've been yapping for a long time and my throat's feeling really dry, so I think I'm gonna save that for another video. Please let me know in the comments if you found this video helpful. If you did find this video helpful, I'd love to see you at one of my shows. I link all of my shows in the description of all of my videos, or you can go to dgtheartist.com and scroll down to the live section, and tickets are always there. Thanks for watching. You got this. Go book your first show, and I'll see you in the next video.